The following presentation was given at the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Tupelo in Tupelo, Mississippi. All are welcome to join us on Sundays at 11 a.m. at 1301 Marshall Street in Tupelo.
Readings, it is a theme of togetherness. And that's, I believe in these times, a matter of critical importance to the survival of progressive ideas, to the survival of liberty and justice for all. We, collectively, are far more powerful, far more influential than any of us standing alone. And yet, we can't act if each of us, you, me, us'uns, don't get together with a common sort of a goal. Now, I have some readings that I want to share with you. These are based on Taoist readings, Taoist thought. We've experimented with those ideas before. For the end of last year, it was the main theme of what I spoke about. But let's talk today of how individuals might step into a body, a collective body, an organized body. And organized isn't a word that Unitarians, Universalists often use. We aren't, compared to most pedantic, dogmatic religions. Unitarian Universalists are sort of like, hill of ants when you poke a stick in it. Everybody is charging around, running, trying to do the good thing. And sometimes, accidentally almost, we focus on a common objective, common target, and move toward it with some sense of actually doing instead of just talking. I want to read here this book, by the way, The Way of Chuang-Tzu, is a collection by Thomas Merton. My copy is printed in 1965, but it's an excellent an excellent Occidentalist view of Taoist thinking. And this is titled, "In My End is My Beginning. In the beginning of beginnings was void of void, the nameless. And in the nameless was the one, without body, without form. This one, this being in whom all find power to exist, is the living. From the living comes the formless, the undivided. From the act of this formless comes the existence, each according to its inner principle. This is form. Here, body embraces and cherishes spirit. The two work together as one, blending and manifesting their characters. And this is nature." Now, when you begin doing these kinds of opposites together and blending them into an entity, that, to me, is the core of what we humans are so very good at when we can do it. Now, If we look at our environment today, our political environment, our economic environment, our religious environments, and think here, if you will, of our poor United Methodist friends and neighbors. When we just don't seem to be able to become a collective, what do? How do we form up a body, an entity, a movement toward something good and what is another word to go with that good? Progressive, constructive, helpful? How do we do that? Can everybody keep every principle that they have and still get together as a unit towards a goal, a collective goal? It's awful hard, because you may have to do the hardest thing in the world, especially for those of us who believe we know everything, and for those who know they know everything because some higher power told them they were right. How do we become a collective? How do we get to be a colony, a nest, a group moving towards some common, really good thing? If to get there we have to sacrifice one of our principles, and I said that with a capital letter. How do you, having been raised all your life to believe that marriage is only between a male and a female, how do you cope with an environment that says, no, it's not? It's for any two beings who love each other. Now, Unitarian Universalists were quite comfortable with that. I have married more same-sex couples than I have mixed-sex couples. And the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations is quite pleased with that. But if I were a Methodist, I would be thrown out of the church. How is it that we seem to have understood that words written 3,000, well, actually written a little over 2,600 years ago in the Hebrew texts, how can we believe that those don't apply today when preachers make their living telling you that they do? Well, it's called kind of common sense. It's called compassion. Why should one group of people have privileges based on their lawful commingling that other people who have just as much passion and care and love for each other, why should you exclude them? Especially when you have so many laws that favor the married couple in this country. There are tax laws, there are privacy laws, there are all sorts of things that the word marriage is of critical importance. And that was one of the reasons I stayed on the pointy edge of that spear in this state, because I think everybody's entitled to be happy, to be in love, to share that love with whoever they believe is their soulmate, or in some cases, soulmates, plural. It's not my business. One of the things that this Jesuit priest that's wearing the white clothes of the Pope is saying is, who am I to judge? Yeah, that makes sense. I think even for a Catholic, even for a Roman Catholic, the other branches of Christianity have not adopted that so much, but several branches have. And it strikes me as one of those things that if you cannot become a part of a congregation, a gathering of people with a purpose and a mission, if you cannot be comfortable with that, then you should not try to join with that. But you should not try to prevent anyone else from finding a group that is comfortable with that. So, congregation and power of a group working together to a purpose is part of what distinguishes us as human beings, because we get to make that as a conscious choice. Now, there are lots of congregations working toward a common purpose, ranging from termites and ants, and we're having a breakout of ladybugs in our house this time of year as things get warm, and so they have a common purpose. They're out to eat bugs and stay alive and reproduce and do all that other good stuff. They don't really have a choice. They don't say, well, I think today I'll be a bee. No, that doesn't work. But humans get to choose their mates and partners and groups, and you tend to want to be with a group you're comfortable with, right? A congregation, a with gathering of folks. But he who obeys nature returns through form and formless to the living, and in the living joins the unbegun beginning. See, I told you Tao can be a little confusing, and this is a good Occidentalist's view. Joins the unbegun beginning. The joining is sameness. The sameness is void, and the void is infinite. The bird opens its beak and sings its note, and then the beak comes together again in silence. So nature and the living meet together in void, like the closing of the bird's beak after it's sung. Heaven and earth come together in the unbegun, and all is foolishness, all is unknown, all is like the lights of an idiot, all is without mind. To obey is to close the beak and fall into the unbeginning. Now, the challenge is, make sense of that. Fall into the unbeginning. Does that give you a notion that there just might be a way to do almost anything if you can find folks wanting to work at it with you together? Do you think that it would even offer hope to Democrats in the state of Mississippi that we might find a way to overcome this notion of our state legislators that education is far less important than building roads or getting new businesses to come, bribing new businesses to come into this state? Do you suppose that we could take out of this nothing a shining light that says education is the key to prosperity, to happiness? If you said prosperity, you may get their attention. If you said happiness, they don't care. So we don't want people to be happy. God, if they're happy, then they're not doing, they must be doing something they shouldn't do. There's a lot of that in this area. If you're happy, something's wrong. Well, that's not so. You know, if you're happy, if we're happy being here, if we get a little pleasure out of being in this place on a gloomy, rainy day with each other, that's good. I mean, if Anne drove all the way from the far sides of Fulton through the rain to get here, yeah. So there's something about being with this group other than just a sense of obligation and duty. There's something about being with this group that made every one of you today look out that door at that pouring rain and say, I'm going to go to church. I'm going to go gather with my kind. I'm going to go be with us. Weans, this group. Now, we are not many, but we are some. And in our some, S-U-M and S-O-M-E, some, there's stuff we can do. We can keep talking to like-minded people. We can make sure they get to the polls. We can do almost anything that we set our minds to doing. And as I think about the month ahead of us and the things we're doing in and for the ordination of one Edie Love, a young woman who has had a very much uphill battle to become a Unitarian Universalist minister, we're joining together to have her ordination in the public park among the people that she serves without remuneration, perhaps even in spite of counteractions by some of the churches and government bodies up in Memphis. We're doing a good thing. We've donated our funds, we're spending our energy, and we're supporting a person with a golden soul. All of us have golden souls. All of us have this miracle that animates us, keeps us moving, sees where we need to be compassionate and be involved, sees where we need to come together for goodness sake, and nothing but goodness sake. There's no reward waiting at the end of our path. There's no golden gate that you've got to talk your way through. We're doing what we do because we know it needs to be done, and it's a good thing. There's nothing that we're trying to achieve in doing that other than one more victory for goodness. And that to me is what congregations, that's what communions are really all about. Let's come together. Let's mingle our soul energies. Let's be us. And let's do good. Amen.
Thanks for listening to the UUC of Tupelo's podcast. You can find us at uuctupeloms.org, on Facebook by searching for UUC Tupelo, or contact us by email at uuctupelocom@gmail.com. That's uuctupelocom@gmail.com. The UUC of Tupelo is a welcoming congregation who accept all people, regardless of creed, color, national origin, gender, or gender identity. We hope you have enjoyed this podcast, and as you head on your way, go in peace, believe in peace, create peace.